Ugh. Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears, home of 7 broken cars and 1 very broken man. As you can see here, I guess we're working on the Miata today. When we did the AC, it was a success. However, it was cold outside, so there were some things that the car just did not need to worry about, like idling when it was warm. You see, in the AC system, part of that system is the idle air control valve, and I guess it's gone bad in this car. So it's actually a pretty common thing. It's actually, from what I understand, more likely for this thing to get clogged up and filled with carbon. And, well, a new IACV is over $600. So we're going to try to clean it first. This is also a part that I have not touched from the previous owner. So there's probably something wrong with it. Let's take a look at some of the symptoms to diagnosis and just kind of how I came to that conclusion in general. Another factor that I kind of introduced when I did the air conditioning was to set the timing. I reset the timing because I found a vacuum leak when I was putting it all back together. So I had to, when you find a vacuum leak, you have to retime the car. So I readjusted the idle, I readjusted the timing, and the car was warm. The car was like fully heat soaked warm. It had been driving for an hour when I did that. So that was kind of my first symptom, was that after I did that, when the car was cold, it would idle really low. Okay, that's a symptom. And then, as you saw, when I started the car up and it died, I had the air conditioning on. Let's take a look at what happens when you do that. Okay, so we're going to start the car up. Air conditioning is off. You see, we're idling kind of low, but we're holding idle. But then when I turn the AC on, so when you turn the AC on, there's supposed to be a signal that goes out to your idle control valve to open it, to open the flap a little bit more, to raise the idle to compensate for the drag that the compressor puts on the system. Watch what happens. I'm going to turn it on. You see my finger in the bottom right and the tack on the left. The idle does not go up to compensate at all. It doesn't change. In fact, it goes down because of the drag from the compressor. So that's what's causing this problem. And when I turn it on, the car struggles to stay alive, especially after I move it. Like if I'm trying to pull out of a parking spot or something, it struggles to stay alive, and most of the time just straight dies. So that's what's happening here. I strongly believe that it is the IACV, but I also am very hopeful that I don't have to replace it. So here's all of that stuff. The IACV is down here. That, I believe, is part of it. It attaches to the throttle body, so the best way to remove this thing is you got to pop off these hoses and then take off the throttle body. And you can see here, there's a lot of gasket goop here instead of a proper gasket. So this will give me an opportunity to fix that. It looks like I need 2 gaskets because there is an adapter plate, because this is an NA8. Kind of ghetto rigged into an NA6 system. So I'm going to need probably 2 gaskets. And if I use gasket goop, I'm definitely going to do a better job than this, because Jesus Christ. So we're going to pop this off, and I guess we get to work on the Miata in the dirt. And why do I have to work on the Miata in the dirt? Well, I got a few things going on. See here, my TR7 is now a workbench because it needs front brakes. You can see my Prelude here has no suspension because I thought that I could do a fun project and share with you guys and put out a Prelude video, because people love Prelude videos. I've got my Maverick over there. It won't start. The teeth on the flywheel are gone, so the starter doesn't catch anything. That'll be fun. That's going to be actually an amazing video series that I have coming up for you guys. I've got the seat out of the Jeep because I am using the Jeep as a truck because I can't use my trucks as a truck, either of them. The Studebaker needs a new everything. The S10 needs a new engine. So I'm using my Jeep as a truck for another project. So one of the first things people usually do to just kind of remediate this issue is they'll just raise the idle. And I did that, and it works fine without the air conditioning on. But once you turn the AC on, it still struggles to stay alive. So this is just a problem that I'm just going to fix the right way. I think all I need are those two gaskets and the gasket for the ISCV. I already have the gasket for the ISCV. The gasket for the intake manifold to the butterfly plate, that's actually really easy to find at AutoZone. They have them around, so I can go down there and have it ready for me later in the day. So let's take this thing off right now. Before I show you what's going on here, I want to first say that RTV is not something you put on a throttle body. Number two, I have never seen blue RTV before in my life. So I don't even know that this is RTV. But number three, he used so much of it that he's blocking ports. I mean, of course I had a problem. What the effing hell? Let's get a light in there and see just how much goop is inside this manifold. Oh, it is just so... The problem is that I'm going to have to put something behind this, like stuff a rag in behind it before I can even begin cleaning this stuff out. Because this gasket goop is going to make its way into the cylinders and cause even more problems. I mean, God, I really... Oh my God. What? What? How far in there is that? What? Who does this? Who does that? Oh, Jesus. So clearly I've got some work to do. This is not going to be an easy day. And we haven't even opened up the idle air control valve, but I can tell you right now that fixing this will make this problem better. But we're going to take this off anyway. And also, I've noticed while I was taking things apart that the gasket for the thermostat is a little bit soggy. It's kind of seeping a little bit. So while we're in there, we're going to go ahead and get a new gasket and take care of that. Maybe that is a place you probably do want to use a little bit of RTV, and that's probably what we'll do there. So I kind of screwed up. I had no idea there were bolts here because this was completely covered with goop. This was torn off after I pulled the thing off to reveal that there were, in fact, Allen bolts behind this. So I had no idea, and these just ripped right out. But honestly, I don't think that's my biggest concern right now. This car is probably going to run amazing by the time I'm done with this repair. This is... Who does this? I gotta say it again. Who does this? This makes me sick. Like, I literally feel like crying right now. This is so bad. This is so bad. I mean, no wonder I was having problems. That port is completely blocked with goop. There's so much goop on here, could keep Gwyneth Paltrow employed for a year. I got the idle air control valve off, and of course I ruined the screws, so I'm going to try to replace those with bolts, but let's take a look at what we've got going here. So this is the throttle body, of course, and this is where the idle control valve bolts up into. And you think maybe this might be a problem? Maybe? Maybe, just maybe. And then over here, I don't know what this is about, but these things come out, or at least that thing comes out. I don't know what this is about. I have no idea. This thing was not working at all. It's safe to say. This thing was completely non-functional. Maybe the electronics worked. That's kind of my hope. But I don't even know. I don't even know, guys. Like this car. That just popped right out, but this I'm going to have to probably run a drill into and try to pick it out or something. I don't know. I have to really excavate this. But what a nightmare. What an absolute freaking nightmare. This is actually going to be easier than removing the RTV out of everything because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's very, very, very hard to remove. This sucks. I really hate the previous owner of this car. And maybe I should hate myself more for buying it from him. But whatever. We're going to get this poor little car figured out. Oh, finally. This is what it's supposed to look like. So here's what I did. There's really no real science to this. Nothing really sophisticated. I just kind of scraped and chiseled it out. And at some point, I was drilling it in very early on just so that I could get a bore into this thing. I didn't want to go too deep because I didn't know exactly what the shape of this thing was like. But so the idea was once I got a bore into it, then I was able to scrape and pick and chisel away at the block sealer material. And as I did that, I was taking regular breaks to soak it. And so I soaked it in JB Weld, I soaked it in carb cleaner, I even soaked it in gasoline at one point, just so that I could try to get this stuff broken up as good as I can. And the more I let it soak, the more it started to come apart. And finally, I got it apart, and then I had to get the little pieces that were inside here, inside that little, where that rod is. And once I did that, it went pop. So I think the valve, released. The spring had tension or something, and it released. And now I think I have all of the little bits and pieces out of it. I sprayed carb cleaner in all of these little ports, even the coolant ports, which we're not testing right now. So now we are ready to test this thing. And so to test it, it's actually quite simple. You put the key in the on position. Obviously, you're not going to start it because there's no throttle body. And when you plug this thing in right here, you should see the little valve open and close when you plug it in. So we're going to try that. All right, so the key is in the on position, as you can maybe able to hear from the fans being on. Next, we got to plug this thing in, wherever I set it down. Next, I have to find it. Okay. So next, we're going to plug this thing in, and if it's going to work, we should see the valve move. Oh, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling something happen. So I'm going to try to get in a little closer so you can see. I'm going to zoom in, and I have to put the thing right about here. All right, so I'm trying to get the light in there, and when I plug it in, plug it and unplug it, the flapper opens and closes. It's this little valve right in here. This little valve right in here. It moves left and right when you plug it and unplug it. That means this works. This is awesome news because this is a $650 part that I might not have to buy now. So the next step is clean this all up, clean up the throttle body, and clean up this disaster. And of course, clean up this disaster over here, and maybe we'll be able to put this car back together. Everything is cleaned up now, and I have the new gaskets. This is ready to go back together, and I have to admit, I am pretty excited about this. I am quite excited about this. This is very, very cool. Will it change the way the car drives? I don't know. I hope it changes the way it idles and runs when you're stopped. So you can see here the throttle plate that comes with the 1.8 swap. I have dremeled out just a little bit down here and a little bit on the side, but I don't think it's going to matter on the side. I was more concerned with, in this port here, making sure that when the holes are lined up, that we can see some port. And we can. I think this is going to be good enough. I may want to, since my battery is charged for my Dremel, I may want to give this one more little grind down, but I think this is going to be fine. We're not letting in a whole lot of air here. It's a very small valve, and the idea is to just get a little bit of air up so that it idles a little higher. So we're going to accomplish that with the port that I have ground out. There is plenty of space. It's not, you know, fully perfect, but it is definitely there. So I don't know, we'll see. I may grind it down a little bit before I put it back together, but this is ready to put back together. So I am really, 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 really excited. I'm a little bit concerned because, as you might have guessed by now, things aren't matching up perfectly. And so for this adapter plate, I ended up not using a gasket at all because none of it was really worth using. I probably could have gotten a 94 Miata gasket there and used it, but I just used some gasket goop. But unlike the previous owner, I did not use so much gasket goop that it goes all the way into the intake manifold and gets sucked in when the car is on. So I hope this will work. If not, well, I'll just play it by ear. I did put a gasket on this side, and I put just a thin coating of gasket goop around it. You see here, I cut out the gasket around the port because I had opened it up over here so that the port wasn't blocked. Honestly, I don't know if this was the right move. I don't know if I did the right thing here, but we're going to find out. Worst case scenario is I buy a Flying Miata adapter plate and follow their instructions, do what they say, and it will be just fine. Now it is actually back together. And I gotta say, I am, well, not totally back together. Now it's actually back together. All I have to do is put that clip on. That's no big deal. I gotta admit, I'm really nervous. I don't know if this is gonna work. I mean, I know the car's gonna start, but will it be a disaster? I guess there's only one way to find out. And we're gonna start it up. Okay. It's really smooth, but it's really high. Can we adjust that out? Where's my screwdriver? This is all the way in. Do I have a leak? That's not good. I don't seem to have a vacuum leak or an intake leak. That's not good. I made it worse. All right. Well, something happened. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. All right, well, I got to do some thinking. I will see you in a minute. Well, so I made the decision to just buy the parts I need. Here, I bought a Flying Miata throttle body adapter. And as you can see, it is quite different than what I have. So, you know what? While I did kind of screw things up with this little experiment, I've got no regrets. I've got no regrets at all. Because, I mean, like, everything about it is different. Everything is different. This is so... you know what? We're just going to do it now. We're going to do it now. We're going to do it now. We're going to put this right where it belongs. There. All right. So I also went ahead and bought a whole new throttle body assembly because I also don't trust this piece either. But it arrived and, well, I got the wrong throttle body. Look at this. This is a 1.8 liter throttle body. It is tagged as a 1.6 liter. So I guess I get to cash in on eBay Motors right part guarantee because this is not the part that was advertised. That means that instead of throwing this out, assuming that it's not going to work, I'm going to put it together and hope it does work. So the next thing we have to do, I've already gotten a start on this because it required drying overnight. I had to fill in these old holes with JB Weld. And I also went ahead and filled this in, or at least mostly filled it in last night also. So I've got to clean this up. And I might have to wait a little while longer because this doesn't feel... This still feels a little bit soft. But we'll see. Let's clean this up. Let's get this smooth. And then I got to check the dry time on this for it to be ready to drill and tap. Because I'm going to have to drill and tap this. And in fact, I'm going to have to drill and tap partially into what I've already JB welded. And another thing I noticed about this wonderful piece of engineering from the previous owner is that he drilled straight through into the throttle body. So, yeah. I wonder why there was a vacuum leak. There's like, you know, I don't know, 5 different ways it could have leaked. And I'm sure I didn't help it, but getting the correct adapter is going to put things in the right direction. So the JB Weld is all cured. I've sanded it down. However, I ran into a problem when I was trying to drill it. You see, there's not enough room for a drill bit there. So I had 2 options. I could either take apart the entire car and use my drill, or I could get another drill. So I got another drill. And considering I used this already on one of my properties, it's now a tax expense. So this worked out really well. I was able to get in and drill out the holes I needed with plenty of room to spare. It's a 90-degree angle drill. Really, really great tool for when you need it in tight spaces. And that's exactly what I had, a tight space. So I drilled that out, and then I had to tap the hole. And Flying Miata does have instructions on what size tap and everything to use, but actually, it didn't come with the instructions. You have to go look it up online. So if you don't have the instructions, there's actually a pretty easy way to do that if you have a tap and die kit like I do. Let me put this on the tripod really quick and I'll show you how I was able to size this up. We have the tap and die kit here, and we've got the bolt that they sent. It's a Allen bolt. And we need to know the threads in order to correctly tap this. So this set, this is a metric tap and die set. I don't like to mess around with sets that include both because you end up lacking on both metric and SAE. So this is a metric only. And so this comes with little gauges that you can use to size up your bolt. So you see here, this is not going to fit. So really all you have to do is you put this in and it's supposed to line up with the threads of your bolt. So that wasn't it. Let's see if it's a 1.0. And that is a 1.0. So now I know that this is a 1.0. The next thing you need to figure out is what the diameter of the bolt is. So now you can go over to these little guys. These are the, for rethreading bolts. And I just kind of eyeballed it to see this is an M6 And just to be sure, you can actually thread this in, and it should thread in nice and neat, especially if it's a bolt that's never been used before. And you can see it does. So this is an M6 1.0, and so now I just grab the M6 1.0 tap, which I have already grabbed. It was this one. Throw it in this guy, and now we can start to retap the hole. Okay, well, I give it a few minutes to warm up, and I haven't really scientifically set the idle or anything yet. Just wanted to get some preliminary experiments. I went ahead and closed off the radiator cap, and let's just go inside the car, and we're gonna find out how we're doing here. All right, so we're not quite up to temperature, but here's something I'm noticing. I touched the throttle, and this is a completely different car than before. This is completely different. So I attribute that to cleaning up all the crap that was blocking the throttle body. This is awesome. All right, so now let's turn on the air conditioner. You can hear the idle did change, and it went down a little bit, but it didn't go down to 0. Oh, this is good. This is awesome. Okay, so I think the next thing I want to do is, once the car warms up, I want to set the idle and check the timing, just for giggles, and make any necessary adjustments, and then we'll go out for a test drive. So now that I've driven it around, warmed it up, and determined that the idle is way too high, I brought it home, and here's what you do. So you got to open up your diagnostic port, and you got to connect the 10 and ground, and that's going to put it in diagnostic mode. So you have it in diagnostic mode with your sophisticated diagnostic tool, and you got your timing light. So you just have to adjust the idle and then remove your diagnostic tool, and do that over and over again until the idle doesn't change when you remove the tool. You see, we're still at around 850. 850 is around where you want to be, and you can see we're a little bit below that, but we're kind of all over the place, you know, plus and minus 850. So in theory, we're good here. The next thing we need to do, we're going to give it a quick little rev. And it should come back down to 850 pretty easily. And it seems like it does. I think we're in good shape. So let's just take this out on one quick little drive. And if all seems good, then we're done here. Now that I've adjusted the idle, listen to what happens when I turn the air conditioner on. It actually idles up. Instead of being dragged down, it actually idles up, which is pretty dang cool. So now I'm pretty sure it can handle the extra load. I am really excited to try this. Let's go for a drive. Wow, this feels so good. Oh my, this feels so good. Wow! I was going 20 miles an hour, I swear. Oh my god. Wait, what? Now it's idling high again. Now it's idling at 1,000 again. when you're moving, it feels so good. All right, now let's turn the air conditioner on and see what happens. It idles up even higher. I think I need to adjust the idle down a little bit. Of course, this car's gonna be gutless with the AC on. I'm expecting that. That's fine. But I think I need to adjust the idle down just a little bit more. Yeah, nuts. I put the cover for the diagnostic thing back here, and I forgot to put it back on. And after our little drive, it's gone. That sucks. All right, we're back out on the road after our second attempt at setting the idle. And so far, it's much better. I promise you, it sounds like I'm going 1,000 miles an hour, but keep in mind, this is a Miata. So if I wind first gear all the way up to 5,000 RPMs, I'm going like 25 miles an hour. Come on. It's still hanging at about 1,100 RPMs. It's not bad though. I think 1,100 it's like, if this is the best I can do, I'm okay with it. We're getting into good enough territory. So the thing is, every time I do this, I have to do less and less of an adjustment because I get closer and closer and closer, and the adjustments become more and more fine-grained. And I really can't test it until I get out on the road. Because I can blip the throttle at a stop, but until I actually drive it and build up vacuum and whatnot, it's only so good. So we hover at around 1,100 RPM for about 4 seconds or so before dropping to 850, and it fluctuates up to 1,000. I think that's fine. I could try to go a little lower than that, but considering the problems my wife's had, I think I want to try to drive it just for a little while and see how it feels. Because to me, it feels really nice and smooth. I might want to mess with the timing a little bit, and that'll change the idle and, you know, and all that stuff. So, that's kind of the problem when you do things like this, is that you have to start all over with the timing. You can't assume everything's going to be fine. I may want to adjust it, but I'm close enough with the timing that it really just depends on how the car behaves, because sometimes the car is going to want to be a little more advanced. Go ahead. Because sometimes the car is going to want to be a little more advanced than what the timing light's telling you. And you really only know that just from experience, from driving it. Right now, I really like how smooth the power band is here. It's not trying to kick you out of your seat. I mean, it's a Miata after all, but it's really nice and linear, really predictable. And since I'm not going to be doing any performance driving on this for a while, I'm not terribly worried about eking out every single horsepower out of it. All right, we are home. I am calling this a win. There's a couple of things I have to do off camera, like when the car cools off, I'm going to bleed the coolant a little bit more. I also have my fancy tool that maybe I will break out and figure out how to use. But even if that doesn't work, the idle, the fluctuations in idle, it's all within tolerance. It's all fine. This is a huge win, especially considering what you guys all saw when I took the throttle body apart. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, comment. And if you don't like what you see, maybe you have eyes and you watched this video and you saw what was inside the throttle body before I started this project. Yeah, that's definitely something to not like. Either way, like, share, subscribe, comment. And I can't tell you to always build it better because, well, that phrase is taken. But I will leave you with this. Whenever you can, make it less crappy. Yeah, we'll go with that. See you in the next video.